Hey everyone, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in to Relevant Jukebox, and today we're going to talk about the new Elvis Depressedly album, Depressedelica. So singer, songwriter, lo-fi auteur Matthew Lee Cawthron is back with Delaney Mills for another Elvis Depressedly album, and these two have been relatively quiet since they signed to Run for Cover Records back in 2015. And originally, this album was slated to come out September of last year, but had been pushed back until now in April. And after reading a few different things online, it does seem like it is pointing towards this being the last Elvis Depressedly album, sadly. Matt's work in Elvis Depressedly has always been what I've admired most out of all of his musical projects, although his album posthumous release under his Coma Cinema moniker was actually a really good one. I'd suggest checking that one out if you haven't heard it before. His writing style and approach reminds me a lot of Emperor X overall, but he takes this lo-fi singer-songwriter foundation and he blends it with a lot of elements from 90s rock and shoegaze, blues music, and even hip-hop at times. The recording and mixing on Matt's projects are always pretty particular, sounding like there is a lot of thought put into the craft, which has been slightly improved overall, I think, on Depressedelica. And even though a majority of Elvis Depressedly is sad and depressed in its tone, the way that a lot of the tracks end up playing out tend to feel a lot more blissful, melancholy, and uplifting even, almost like you get this feeling like everything's gonna be okay. Like the lead single from this album, Jane, Do You Know Me, for example. There's a hip-hop flavor hanging over this track with its stuttering beat and those looped guitars and string sections. It's pretty soft sounding to the ears, but there is an absolutely stellar bass line that's woven in here that drives the track, which over time has kind of become a calling card of Matt's, as he always pulls out the best bass lines in my opinion. Overall, this track is an idea that he has explored in projects of the past, but it seems like it's more finely tuned on this one. He uses a very watery auto-tune effect on his vocals on this cut, but also on multiple tracks on the album, and remind me a lot of what he was experimenting with on his last solo album, My First Love, Men's My Final Days, which seems to serve as an enhancement of the themes of alcoholism that he's talking about on this track and multiple other spots on the record, as he sounds like he's underwater. After this track, you are blasted with a driving drum machine beat with the song Chariot, which oddly enough kind of reminds me of like a Future Islands song with those serene synthesizers that are layered underneath. We also get some more classic sounding Elvis tracks with the opening cut, Who Can Be Loved in This World, also with Can You Hear My Guitar Rotting, which kind of reminds me of Elliott Smith's Rose Parade and that vocal melody. The track Let's Break Up the Band is a little fuzzy pop oasis towards the back of the record that seems to provide more context into this being the last Elvis Depressedly album. It seems to me like they're just pretty conflicted overall with releasing music, being in a band, touring, and just how emotionally draining that is. But weirdly enough, the vibe that it gives me on this track is more blissful overall, almost like it feels like there's nothing else that you care about going on. And they did leave the record off on a more brighter tone with the track New Love in the Summer. There's a really nice groove that they hit on this track, and the way that it all comes together with those synthesizers and the saxophones just pairs really well, I think. But overall, a really strong finish to this album. Now, I'm kind of weird when it comes to Matt's music at times, when usually on his projects, I latch onto certain tracks like really hard and other ones don't impact me as much. I do think there was a slight overuse of the auto-tune effect on a couple of these tracks, like on Peace on Earth and Control. But overall, I do think this is the most cohesive and polished Elvis Depressedly record yet, with some of their best tracks to date actually landing on this thing. And with that being said, I'm feeling an 8 over here on Depressedelica. Over at Run for Cover Records, they have a handful of cool variants up for sale. There was a black and white Galaxy pressing out of 300 that I think is sold out by now. There's 500 on clear with black swirl, and the last 700 for the first pressing are on purple. There is also a cassette if you're interested, so I'm gonna have links down below in the description box if you guys want to collect this album. And if you listen to this new Elvis Depressedly record, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to drop a like and share. And if you want more content from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Peace.